Good evening, friends, and welcome to another unscheduled live stream. Saturday, we are retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, you're in the right spot. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace when we go live or upload another video. Tonight, I wanted to ask the question. Do we feel that the Nancy Guthrie abduction case has now gone cold? It's almost 50 days. She was reported on February 1st, 2026, missing by her family, and it is now approaching March 22nd. So we're at a turning point where the investigators are in a task force, 5 detectives, 1 sergeant from Pima County, and whoever the FBI has doing the investigation. So I'd like to get your thoughts. Do you feel that this case is going cold? Because we're not hearing anything about it. And Sheriff Nanos is facing a lot of pushback from the members of his department. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern, Sergeant Aaron Cross from the Pima County Sheriff's Department is going to be joining Ed Wallace and myself. And we're going to discuss this case. And we're going to discuss the membership and whether or not they have the ability to recall Sheriff Nanos and get him the hell out of his position. You know, he's an elected official until 2029, and that's not helping find Nancy Guthrie because he is not a true leader. And I don't say that lightly. It really hurts me to say it, but it is the truth. Sheriff Nanos is a complete buffoon. This is worse than Sheriff Barney Fife. This is worse than anything I've ever seen when it pertains to communication and leadership. This case requires leadership, and it is not clear and evident that anybody is in charge at the helm writing this ship or trying to write this ship. We have a yo-yo effect going on. Tonight, in a few minutes, News 4 Tucson is going to broadcast a special, here it comes. So they're going to be broadcasting a special edition of Bring Her Home, Nancy Guthrie, the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. We're going to watch it together, and we're going to get your reactions to what News 4 Tucson has to say in the latest of this case. We hope that we'll glean some new information, but it really seems like nothing is happening here. Nanos doesn't want the help from the FBI. He doesn't even want help from within his own department, kicking out seasoned detectives who have an extreme amount of knowledge in homicide investigations, transferring those detectives out because of, for one reason or another, just didn't have an agreement or misunderstandings or disagreements with those said detectives and put rookie detectives in. We heard from Sergeant Cross the last time he visited us that the lead detective on this case had under 5 years on the job. As a matter of fact, he said he only had two years. How do you put a 2-year detective that has been in homicide for only 2 years on a case like this? It just blows my mind. Let me know what you think in the chat. If you think that I'm off base, please let me know. If you're with me, put a 1 in the chat. This is a circus show. This is a circus show like I've never seen before. And as it pertains to how this case is handled with letting the crime scene go, first and foremost, early on, that was mistake number 1. Mistake number 2 was not reaching out for help early on in this case. He knew he was above his head. He was above water. He wasn't able to tread water. And he failed to reach out to the FBI because of his past experiences, his past biases. His biases with the FBI hurt Savannah Guthrie and her sister Annie and her brother, and more importantly, Nancy Guthrie. So it's just a shit show. We're going to watch the News 4 Tucson special. And then after it's over, I'm going to join you. and I believe Ed Wallace will be here. And we'll go over this, and we will give you our reactions to what News 4 Tucson is reporting on the latest of this case. Let us know where you're watching, city, state, whatever country you're watching. Let us know, and we would love to acknowledge and give a shout out to all of our frequent flyers who watch us. And thank you to the replay viewers, the super chatters, the folks who leave us buy me cups of coffee. We appreciate tremendously everything that you guys do on this channel. Hello from Boston. Good to see you. Thank you. Yeah, reminds me of this is worse than the Idaho 4. This is worse. This is way worse than the Idaho 4. Hello from Houston, Texas. Good to see you. Hi, Beamer. Hi, Lexi. Cheryl, good to see you. Sheriff bragged about it being so close to the family, so they wouldn't suspect him. Yeah, I swear him brother-in-law is involved. Just your opinion, and everyone's got one. Everyone's got an opinion on this case. That's all we're left with is opinions, because we really have nothing coming out of the Pima County Sheriff's Department. In another minute or so, this live premiere will be airing on News 4 Tucson. You could go on to their YouTube channel, or you can go over to their website and watch it. But I'm going to watch it live with you guys. Hello from New Zealand. Kia ora. Good to see you. Thank you, Curious Kiwi. Great to have you in the house. Thank you. Hi, LMS. Good to see you, Laura. Thank you for joining. Hey, Sarasota. How's it going? Good to see you from New Jersey. Thank you for joining. Appreciate everybody being here. So let's watch this together, and then we will let's talk about it. And maybe I'll take a couple of live call-ins if you guys are up to it on a Saturday night. We can maybe have a little bit of a community board meeting, if you will. We can have a little round table. So it's always good to try to hear and listen to what everybody has to say. I see all the different places checking in. Great to see everybody. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Wow. UK. It's got to be late in the UK, South Wales. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. All right. Here we go. This is going to be News 4 Tucson. Let's watch it together and let's break it down.
Continues. Our community and the nation are rallying around her family to share messages of love and hope.
Let me know if the volume's okay.
Start of this, it was just heart-wrenching just hearing about this.
Nothing really like this ever happens around here, so we're all praying.
A community united with one plea: bring her home.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining us tonight for our special program, Bring Her Home, the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. I'm Sean Mooney.
And I'm Monica Garcia. We are 6 weeks into this deeply troubling mystery. Investigators say 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, mother of Today's Show co-host Savannah Guthrie, was taken from her home in the middle of the night. The case continues to shake our community and grip the nation.
Tonight, there are still no answers, no arrests.
That was me. Sorry.
No motive and no sign of Nancy.
Its sources close to the case tell us investigators aren't any closer to solving it. Nancy's daughter, Savannah, again on behalf of the family, reiterating an urgent plea for your help.
To bring her home.
If you've been waiting and you haven't been sure, let this be your sign to please come forward, tell what you know, and help us bring our beloved mom home. Please be the light in the dark.
And a light in the dark is just what this case needs. Let's start by taking you back to the beginning. Nancy was last seen the night of January 31st at her home near Skyline in Campbell. She was dropped off there by her son-in-law at 9:48 p.m. after having dinner with family. By midday Sunday, Nancy didn't show up to watch church service at a friend's home. Her friend called Nancy's oldest daughter, who called 911. What began as a missing persons search quickly turned into one of the most complex investigations our country has seen in years.
The Pima County Sheriff, Chris Nanos, has given many interviews on the case, but this interview is a bit different. He takes us back to what he remembers about that day when she went missing, shares what's happened since, and has a message for the person or people who took her.
It started with a call.
Take me back to the night of Sunday, January 31st. When did you get the call that Nancy was missing?
My team had notified me of a missing person. Search and rescue was searching the area.
And we begin tonight with breaking news. The Pima County Sheriff's Department is looking for a missing woman tonight.
And there were some concerns with what they were seeing at the scene.
And Skyline is where we are.
Investigators confirmed the missing woman was Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Savannah Guthrie, a name recognized across the country and deeply rooted in the Tucson community.
I don't even know that I knew it was the Guthrie family until probably closer to 6, 7 o'clock that evening.
Bullshit.
The mother of Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie.
Within hours, the investigation was expanding with the eyes of the nation watching.
FBI.
I got to stop that for a second. Here's another bullshit. And I'm sorry to curse, guys. I apologize. I know a lot of you guys don't like cursing. But for that sheriff to say that he did not know that that was Nancy Guthrie's residence, that is utter bullshit. That is the furthest from the truth, because in the Catalina foothills, those sectors and those patrol officers, the sheriffs that are out there, they know the residents. They know who's there, and they reported back to him. I'm going to put Sergeant Aaron Cross on the, I'm going to put him on the spot tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. He's going to be joining us. I love the guy. He's a fellow brother in blue, but I'm going to present that question to him. Is there a chance that Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos did not know that that was Nancy Guthrie and Savannah Guthrie's daughter, mother? I guarantee you he's going to laugh.
It was plugged in that Sunday. Monday morning, we got to even know that.
And Skyline is where we are.
Investigators confirmed the missing woman was Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Savannah Guthrie, a name recognized across the country and deeply rooted in the Tucson community.
I don't even know that I knew it was the Guthrie family until probably closer to 6, 7 o'clock that evening.
Miss Guthrie is the mother of Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie.
Within hours, the investigation was expanding with the eyes of the nation watching.
FBI was plugged in that Sunday. Monday morning, we got a quick briefing. They had processed the scene, and we knew we needed some help.
After the public appeal,
We do, in fact, have a crime scene, that we do, in fact, have a crime.
Area right outside of Nancy Guthrie's house.
came press conferences, drawing hundreds of reporters.
We are aware of a ransom letter that was sent to the local media.
A tip hotline was created.
I thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom.
Billboards went up in several states, but the decision to clear the crime scene, followed by renewed searches in the weeks after, has drawn criticism.
A major focus all of a sudden on the house again.
Though Sheriff Chris Nanos says he stands by the work of his investigators.
Sheriff, looking back at this past month in the investigation, did it go the way you wanted it to go?
Yes, absolutely. Here's the thing. I think somebody said, well, Sheriff, did you regret this? Look, I have no regrets about my team and their efforts. I don't regret we let the crime scene go too soon or any of that. That's just silly.
New FBI recovery.
Then
I mean, I have to stop it. And I'm doing this purposely because I have to point out the bullshit here. There is no way in hell that a 40-year veteran could say straight into the camera that letting that crime scene go after day 2, on day 2, not after day 2, on day 2, that crime scene was let go. Brian Enton and many other people, Amazon delivery people, pizza delivery guys, all different people were able to walk straight up that doorway, up that walkway where the blood was. It's just outrageous. It's outrageous to hear him say that. And that was a new interview. Monica Garcia asked him how he felt looking back at it. Do you have any regrets? And he said no. We saw Sergeant Cross laugh when we asked him that question. We saw him literally laugh under his breath. That's a true professional, 26-year veteran of the Pima County Sheriff's Office, Sergeant Aaron Cross. He knows his stuff. And when we asked him the question, he muttered a laugh under his breath. And he's a true gentleman.
10 days later, the biggest break in
sudden on the house again.
We are aware of a ransom letter that was sent to the local media.
A tip hotline was created.
I thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom.
Billboards went up in several states, but the decision to clear the crime scene, followed by renewed searches in the weeks after, has drawn criticism.
A major focus all of a sudden on the house again.
Though Sheriff Chris Nanos says he stands by the work of his investigators.
Sheriff, looking back at this past month in the investigation, did it go the way you wanted it to go?
Yes, absolutely. Here's the thing. I think somebody said, well, Sheriff, did you regret this? Look, I have no regrets about my team and their efforts. I don't regret we let the crime scene go too soon or any of that. That's just silly.
New FBI recovery.
Then 10 days later, the biggest break in the case, doorbell video released showing a suspect
with what appears to be a gun at Nancy Guthrie's home the night of her disappearance.
Today, it remains one of the key pieces of evidence investigators are still leaning on. But it's not the only evidence detectives are analyzing.
Cell phone data, pings, cameras. I mean, how much are you guys leaning into that information, that evidence?
It could be a cell tower dump, could be analyzing the cell phone.
So there is still digital evidence that you guys are waiting on to receive.
Well, we're analyzing all the time, yes.
The sheriff says investigators have gathered a lot of information. They're just not able to share much of it publicly right now.
If you could talk directly to the person who took Nancy, what is your message?
Give her up. Let her go. Just let her go. Just take her to a clinic, a hospital. Drop her off. Just let her go.
And you've seen these photos.
Boy, that was reassuring. Just let her go. Just let her go. Drop her off at a hospital, a police station, a fire station. Man.
Before, this is the person that Sheriff Nanos is referring to. The FBI released these stills obtained from Nancy's Ring camera of a masked suspect at her front door. They believe this individual is a man between 5'9" and 5'10". You can see he's wearing gloves and a ski mask, carrying a black Ozark Trail hiker pack, and has what appears to be a gun on his waistband. Take another good look at these shots. If you have any information, reach out immediately.
About the evidence, the tips, and the rewards, all focused on finding Nancy. But we don't think you've heard enough about who Nancy Guthrie is. News for Tucson's Andrew Capasso sat down with some of the people who worked with Nancy and want you to know the impact she's had in our community.
Hey, folks, before we hear about this, I'm just pausing it for a moment. We know for a fact that the Uber driver who drove her to her daughter's home that night, all of the Ubers in the United States are required to have in-car, in-vehicle dash cams, not only going forward for safety reasons, but also into the cabin of the vehicle, into the back passenger area. So there's definitely footage of her being dropped at for that car ride, probably the entire part of that vehicle ride from her home, which was just a short distance to her daughter's. But what's interesting about this is we talk about the potential for any workers at the house, the roofing guys, people who were in close contact with her as potential suspects. But when you look at it, when you look at a roofing guy or just a person who had knowledge that this was a woman who lived alone, 84 years old, what's the upside? What did they take from the home? Was there valuables stolen? Was there jewelry? Was there artwork stolen? Was there anything of value taken from that home to make it worthwhile for the individual that did this? So in my eyes, as a detective, I say to myself, if Pima County Sheriff's Department is not willing to share that A, there was forced entry, or B, there wasn't forced entry, or C, that there was items taken from the home, or cash or valuables and jewelry taken, then we could say, you know what, this was a robbery, a home burglary. They took items and they left. And when she confronted them instead of leaving, they either took her or killed her or whatever the case may be. But that information is not being given to the general public for probably good reason, but maybe not for good reason. I don't know. But at the end of the day, everybody's left to speculate. And that's all that we have is speculation. And everybody is saying, oh, possibly this one did it, possibly this one did it, a family member, this or that and the other. And it's really because there's no information. We don't even know how entry was made into the home. Open doors, we heard residents talk about, we never lock our doors here in Tucson in the Catalina foothills. We leave our doors open. We don't lock them. We heard senior citizens say that on camera. We never lock our doors. So maybe this perp or perps were able to just walk right in. So interesting, but that's where we're at.
A big part of Nancy Guthrie's life in Southern Arizona is anchored right here at the University of Arizona. From literally helping save thousands of lives over the decades to helping students in the communication industry.
I always think about Nancy as this quiet leader who was so effective without ever working at it. That's just the way she is.
Former professor Jacqueline Sharkey worked with Nancy for decades.
She always has had superb communication skills, and she used those to help lead a couple of very important public health and education initiatives that we worked on together.
One project the two worked on, saving the Poison Information Center at the U of A, the place on the chopping block due to budget cuts. Sharkey says Guthrie got right to work.
Gathered more than 20,000 signatures that were delivered to the governor, and the Poison Center was saved.
She says while the work was not easy.
This is in the pre-internet days. So we're talking about brochures and fact sheets and petitions that a small group of people took all over the state.
The impact of that work continues today.
Thousands of Arizonans have benefited from the Poison Center in the 30 years since Nancy had a major role in leading it.
That impact is something Dave Coulier says he's also experienced. He worked with Nancy on the School of Journalism's Advisory Council.
She was a huge champion of journalism and the University of Arizona. She was looking out for everybody, all the graduates of the program, and frankly, of the whole university.
He says Guthrie put passion into every project she touched.
There are a lot of people who wanted to get involved for resume builders, or certain ego trips and that sort of thing, but not Nancy. She had a quiet power. I mean, she wasn't the loud, talkative person in the room. She was the thoughtful person who provided input when it was needed.
Now, as the tribute to Guthrie grows outside her home, Sharkey says she is not surprised.
It's all a sign of how much Nancy means to us and the enormous impact she had on the community and on our lives.
An impact she says everyone from her Catalina Foothills neighborhood to the U of A and beyond can all learn from.
She's a role model for how to live a life filled with meaning.
And one other thing Sharkey told me, for Nancy, she says it has never been about the credit, but always about the people. Sharkey says that selflessness is precisely why Nancy's impact is felt so deeply across Tucson today. Reporting at the University of Arizona, I'm Andrew Capasso, News 4 Tucson.
And after hearing that story, it is easy to understand why Nancy's sudden disappearance sent shockwaves through our community.
3 days after she went missing, Nancy's daughter, Savannah, turned to social media asking everyone to pray. So that's just what Tucson did.
Most merciful God, we pray for our sister Nancy.
We needed a place to come together. And so a vigil popped into my head, and I know both Nancy and Savannah are very faithful, and I just feel like even if people don't pray, I feel like people want to do something. And if they can come together and share hugs and share stories, then that might make it a little easier.
Sally Shamrell helped organize the vigil. She says she met Nancy through her daughter, Savannah Guthrie, when the two were both young journalists at KVOA 30 years ago.
Welcome all of you who have come from the wider community for this vigil, for this time of prayer for Nancy.
Lupita Murillo is another former colleague who wanted to do something to send a message to the family that they weren't alone, and coming together was the way to do it.
Holding a vigil will make us feel like we're doing something positive. We're rallying around the family. We're asking God to please bring Nancy home.
Earlier in the week, Savannah had asked her social media followers to please pray.
We believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers.
And that's exactly what hundreds did at St. Philip's Church that night. They came from all over, many not knowing what to say, but others speaking out, praying for Nancy's return.
God is everything. I prayed for Nancy last night, and I assured her she's got this, she can do it, and we're behind her.
The church's pews filled with people holding candles, there to support the family and to pray for Nancy's return. Some who had never met her, and others who had known the 84-year-old for decades.
It's nice to show that Tucsonans are going to come out and support someone that the community loves.
And those two words, please pray, the plea sent out from Savannah Guthrie, certainly answered that night. Now, though, as the weeks have gone by, the faith shared that night and since remains as strong as ever. As Tucson continued their prayers, investigators continued their work to find Nancy. Sources say tips and cell phone pings led to raids conducted in both Rio Rico and Tucson. But they didn't give them the break they were hoping for. The first one, the night of February 10th, a man was detained in Rio Rico and questioned by investigators. Then on February 13th, police detained and questioned 3 people following a law enforcement operation near First Ave.
Guys, you remember this, Friday the 13th in February. That was when they did the search warrant at a home and then seized that Range Rover at a parking lot. I believe it was like a Kroger or some eatery outside of that restaurant. And now we had recently the subject of that search warrant and that vehicle and his mom. I have their names somewhere here. I don't know if I have them at arm's reach, but they were trying to clear their names. We still haven't heard if that vehicle was given back and turned back over and what was the results of the search warrants. Don't forget, when you do a search warrant and you execute it, you have to return that search warrant to the actual judge who issued it. The judge wants to know what was the results, what came from that search warrant, what investigatory evidence did you collect from within that home and in that car. Now, those things take time sometimes, but there always is a time frame where you have to do a search warrant return. And we haven't heard anything because everything involved in this case gets sealed in the courts. Everything gets sealed. Nothing is publicly available.
Avenue in Orange Grove in the Shadow Hills neighborhood. No arrests were made in either operation. Evidence analysis in the Guthrie case has also proven to be futile so far. On February 11th, the first black glove was found in a field about 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home. On the 17th, the DNA was entered into a national database, CODIS, but came back with no matches. Then on March 4th, the DNA was traced to a restaurant worker who was not connected to the case. While that didn't bring any answers, detectives are still hoping surveillance video will. They're concentrating on this zone you see right here, bound by Campbell Avenue, Ina Road, La Cholla Boulevard, and River Road. If you live in that area and have video that shows anything out of the ordinary, you can find a link to share it with investigators on our website at kvoa.com/Nancy Guthrie. And as investigators continue to work the case, outside Nancy's home, a shrine in her honor continued to grow. It started with a simple sign: Dear Guthrie family, your neighbors stand with you. And over the next few days, the messages of hope and prayer continue to grow, along with candles and flowers. Among the chaos in front of the home and up and down the neighborhood street, the signs and other items, a constant reminder of the reason for it all.
We're praying to God that she is going to be returned to her family and she is safe and she's well. That is God's wishes, to have her return to her family back to Tucson.
Neighbors enduring the interruption in their daily lives in their once quiet Foothills neighborhood. Many stopping by now to show their support.
I just came to bring some flowers in support of Nancy and the Guthrie family, to show that we're coming together as a community.
But others coming from beyond Tucson to bring their message of hope for Nancy's return.
I live in Arizona, Mesa, and I came down to pay my respects. I'm still praying for Nancy's safe return.
All of those heartfelt messages heard and felt deeply by the Guthrie family. Savannah and her sister Annie, along with her husband Tommaso Cioni, returning to the neighborhood on March 2nd to meet with neighbors, to thank them for their continued love and support throughout the search for Nancy. The three stopping by what has become a street-side shrine, representing the many praying for Nancy's return. Savannah and her sister carrying yellow flowers, overcome with emotion as they looked at the hundreds of messages and tributes left behind to honor their mom. That neighborhood display remains a reminder of the never-ending support the Tucson community and people around the world have for Nancy Guthrie. And what investigators and the Guthrie family believe is that your tips are critical to finding Nancy. Tens of thousands of tips have already poured in from across the country, but we're still looking for that one clue that will break this case. The reward for Nancy Guthrie's return now tops $1 million. Much of that came from her family, but Michael Hoopy, a lawyer from Wisconsin, added $100,000 of his own money. The FBI says they alone have received more than 25,000 tips, and at last report, 88 Crime reports receiving nearly 2,600 tips. Both are looking for more help to solve this case, and here are those tip lines again.
And at the heart of Nancy's disappearance is her family and her close friends. The heartbreak and desperation they are living through right now is felt in every message and video they posted to social media. They expected the national media to swarm Tucson once word got out about Nancy's case, but what came with it was a destructive group of profiteers, and the collateral damage has been far-reaching.
Call the cops on you and get you cited. Get out of here.
For 6 weeks, Nancy's neighbors witnessed firsthand the media taking over their neighborhood.
At members of the media, hundreds of people. I tell you, it keeps growing out here.
Journalists reporting on the daily updates of the case, but soon came a different group of people causing chaos in our town. From pizza deliveries to a crime scene to people showing up for photo shoots outside of Nancy's home. People even asking to sit at the same table the Guthrie family sat at when they were together at a restaurant last fall. Local leaders say these scenarios didn't just cross the line, it may have made things worse.
I wish that there were, we stopped having these sort of people that have a following in media platforms acting as if they are investigators. I do think that it is hurting the investigation.
Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva says in at least one case, a name shared during a live stream led to threats.
He was threatened, his family was threatened because they heard by a reliable source.
Then came the false accusations directed at members of the Guthrie family and friends, blatantly accusing some of them of being involved in Nancy's disappearance in the midst of their most intense time of grief.
People that, in my view, have taken sort of a shameless, shot across the bow of decency for this community, for those families.
These kinds of erroneous reports, comments, and posts have damaged reputations and are ruining the lives of innocent people. One of them, local band member and family friend of the Guthries, Dominic Evans, told the New York Times his life has been turned upside down after being linked to the case.
The typical consequence for a journalist that has defamed someone is the news station or newspaper gets sued. If they lose, an insurance company for that
Just a heads up, what they're alluding to here is also Banfield on her podcast. She said that she had a very reliable source that said that that the son-in-law was the prime number one suspect. And recently, I think 2 or 3 days ago in the news, I heard them report that Savannah Guthrie was livid over what was reported by Ashley Banfield. I don't get involved in any of this stuff, so I don't follow it. I didn't even see the video of what she said. I just saw like little clips of it from the news sharing it. But I listened to an attorney from Colorado, Scott Reich, do a video about Ashley Banfield and the ramifications and the possibility of being sued for libel and slander and so forth. From the video that he did, it sounded like that's a possibility that could happen. And if Savannah Guthrie has the financial means to hire the best attorneys, that could be possibly what's on the plate for her. We saw it with the TikToker who accused Brian Kohlberger's, I think, teacher in college professor, that or some college professor was responsible for the murders of the 4 college students in Moscow, Idaho, and there was a multi-million-dollar lawsuit that was won by this professor. So that's what they're getting at here, and this should be interesting to hear about this.
Evans told the New York Times his life has been turned upside down after being linked to the case.
The typical consequence for a journalist that has defamed someone is the news station or newspaper gets sued. If they lose, an insurance company for that journalist is going to have to pay a judgment. You can't successfully sue YouTube itself or Facebook itself, because there's federal law that protects that platform.
With both platforms and those creating content on them hard to hold accountable, the damage their content may cause can be immediate and lasting.
Horrifically damaging to people that are falsely accused, for example. Why? Well, in the modern age, you now have a scarlet digital letter, right? There may be vigilante justice, people giving out your home address, your phone number, your loss of privacy.
And unfortunately, these reckless reports continue to this day. They have
It's really criminal behavior, and it's not something that a good law-abiding citizen would participate in. You don't just point the finger at somebody because you have sources or people are telling you that this one has something to do with it. These are serious allegations, and you never hear Ed and myself do that, point the fingers at people, because we know that sources are sources, and sources get things wrong, and it's not really a great idea to go and put something out there if you don't have a definitive backup for it. It's not something that good people do. I'll put it to you that way.
Devastated the Guthrie family and their friends, adding to their pain.
Even in the midst of all of this, there have been moments of light, though. One of them, a call to our newsroom from a woman compelled to help. News 4 Tucson's Robbie Reynolds joins us now with that story.
It all started with one yellow ribbon, and then dozens more, handmade and sent to Tucson, the woman who made them, calling them ribbons of hope. And they're already being worn by employees here at El Charro, where Nancy Guthrie had lunch with her daughters just 5 months ago.
Yellow ribbons, a symbol of hope.
I was saying, we just hope that it brings.
Well, look, Tarek, I could say that everybody has their own opinion. And I feel somebody who does something like that and points fingers at somebody within a family without having concrete evidence of that it was that person is a bad person. And that's my opinion, and yours might vary, yours might differ, and I respect yours. But at the end of the day, that's not something that good people should be doing. And I'm sorry if we can agree to disagree.
Awareness to the public, to just as media slows down, to remember to keep a watchful eye and ear out, and just to remember that she's still missing.
For Melanie, it's a labor of love. She and her friend Regina started making ribbons in 2003 when Lacey Peterson, a pregnant California mom, went missing. They made more when Natalie Holloway disappeared, and for others, until it became too much for two people.
I've been praying through every ribbon I make for answers.
Compelled by Nancy's story, Melanie started making ribbons again, and she sent the first batch to us here at the station. Word of the ribbons coming to Tucson touched Ray Flores, the president of Flores Concepts, and C. Charo. We gave his restaurant family the first shipment. This is the first time Flores has spoken publicly since Nancy's disappearance.
When we realized it wasn't just a simple lost person issue, the severity of it really kind of hit home because she had just been here a couple months before with Savannah filming an episode for the Today Show.
While he didn't know Nancy personally, Flores says he saw the closeness between her and her girls in his restaurant the day of the shoot.
You could tell they were a very loving family, and whenever you have that kind of pain hit.
Neither do I. I think she's garbage. She's it's like dirtbag stuff to do just to get a bunch of oohs and ahs. That's not cool. It's not cool to point a finger at somebody for the abduction of this woman and or murder. Those are serious allegations, and you shouldn't be just pointing fingers at anybody for that matter. It's just irresponsible, and I'll never change my position on that.
It does. It affects you because you can feel it in your own community, in your own heart.
For his employees, Ray says wearing Melanie's ribbons offer hope and remind us that Nancy is still out there, along with others that are missing. He believes as a community, we can all help by remaining vigilant, and he wants to emphasize that for both English and Spanish speakers.
If you see something, say something. Si ves algo, diga algo.
Omar works at El Charro and was there when the Guthries visited in October. He and other El Charro workers support the ribbon campaign.
We're still supporting them, and we're still thinking about them every single day.
We have a lot of people coming through here, so the more awareness we can create, the better.
And that awareness is already starting to spread among El Charro's customers.
It's a great program to have that, to stay united, to create something positive of something that's actually very sad.
A small ribbon that has the capacity to make a big difference.
If we can communicate a message of hope, then that's the only and best tool for all of us to be part of.
Employees at all the C. Charro restaurants will soon be wearing these yellow ribbons of hope. As more on the way, Melanie has already made a second batch, and they will be distributed throughout our community. Reporting from El Charro downtown, Robbie Reynolds, News 4 Tucson.
And from yellow ribbons of hope to the bonding between neighbors.
More than 6 weeks after Nancy disappeared, her Catalina Foothills neighbors say they've been leaning on each other for support. News 4 Tucson's Andrew Capasso joins us from there now with that story.
The most striking difference here outside Nancy Guthrie's home is the silence. Just weeks ago, this street would be lined with headlights and taillights. But now, while most of those news cameras are gone, the people who live in this neighborhood say it is forever changed.
This is a very safe, bucolic, beautiful place.
For 6 years, Jeff Lamy has called this Catalina Foothills neighborhood home. But he says what happened at this house, not far from his, has shaken everyone here.
I think it's disconcerting that this occurred, obviously, and we're so concerned about the family and supporting that family.
And thinking more about how to keep safe, both at their own homes.
Maybe people are more apt to lock their door or ensure that that camera is operational, that you've charged that battery.
And as a community.
There's been talk of reinvigorating a neighborhood watch.
But beyond those measures, many people who live in this neighborhood have been doing important work to help find Nancy. What you may not know is a network of neighbors here.
The only good thing that is so far coming out of this is to bring attention to the importance to have a device like this and have cloud backup storage for it. So if somebody takes this and removes it or tries to break it or takes it and walks away with it, you'll still have a recording of that person as they approached it. And it's such a cheap expense if you look at it. $100 for a whole year of cloud service on a Ring video doorbell, and all the other ones. It's the same type of charge. And if you are living in a multi-million-dollar home, you bet your bottom dollar you got to have not only this, but IP cameras with a DVR inside your house. It's silly not to have it. And if you're an elderly person and living alone or living at home, with people that check in on you from time to time, neighbors or whatever the case may be, the more the better. And that's something that is a takeaway and a learning experience from. If you could take anything good from this, it will help people to understand you have to lock your doors and you have to have video surveillance on the outside of your home.
Have played an integral role throughout this investigation, working behind the scenes to gather camera footage from each other's homes, cross-referencing that footage and getting it to law enforcement. It's part of a neighborhood action group which formed early on in Nancy's disappearance. One member of the group tells us that's our...
See, and the shame of this is these IP cameras, this is internet cameras, IP cameras, were installed after the fact. Once the family took control of Nancy Guthrie's home, and the sheriff's department finally released that property to them. In the days or day prior, they had a crew working to change the locks, to put these IP cameras up, drill it into the concrete, and have it continually recording 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And that, my friends, should have been there before this happened.
Recipe. So far, we haven't found Nancy, but we can help law enforcement by being targeted. We let them decide what is actionable. The group continuing their work, they call it the recipe for being helpful.
The best thing you can do for safety is create awareness, create connection with neighbors.
One neighbor who asked us to protect her identity says what happened to Nancy is bringing neighbors closer.
There's a sense of what now out here. We need to rely on each other, and I've seen a lot of that in these past few weeks. More checking up on people and more making sure everyone's okay.
She says it's helping the neighborhood heal.
Before this, we didn't know each other. Now we know a little more about each other, and we know we're in this together.
And people are afraid. There's a homicidal maniac or one or more maniacs that committed this crime onto Nancy Guthrie inside her home. And they're not apprehended. They're still at large. So, yeah, all the folks who live in this Catalina foothills, have very good cause to be on edge. And they even have more of a cause to be on edge because they have an incompetent sheriff. So there's two reasons. One, first and foremost, homicidal maniacs, one or more out there on the loose. And two, an incompetent sheriff that was elected by the people.
Something Lamy says is critical.
Absolutely. It's the silver lining to a very dark cloud.
While hoping for the answer to questions so many are desperate for. What happened and why?
Because this was a shocking event.
And there is still a lot of healing to be done here. And neighbors say they're still fearful, and they will continue to be until they get answers in this case. Reporting in the Catalina foothills, I'm Andrew Capasso, News 4 Tucson.
Thank you, Andrew. For our team here at News 4 Tucson, the story hits home. As we've told you, Savannah Guthrie is part of the News 4 Tucson family, having worked here as a news anchor on her way up to becoming the host of the Today Show.
Reporting on the disappearance of her mom has not been easy. Like the rest of the community, we wanted to find a way to show the Guthrie family our love and support, and to provide a place for you to send a message of your own. We never expected the impact our tribute would have.
Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock, trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help.
Bring her home. Part of a message Savannah Guthrie posted on social media.
It was a direct plea to those who were involved in her disappearance to let her go. But it was also a call for others to keep praying for Nancy's return. Those 3 words becoming the theme of the banner. We weren't quite sure how the community would react, but soon they started to come. Some to sign the banner, leaving messages of hope and support. Others leaving flowers and candles, each expressing their concern and love in their own way.
Our hearts are in it, and she's always on her mind. So the candles right here, the heart we made, all the names on the candles, to me, it's showing hope, it's showing love, and it's showing humanity.
And all coming by for the same reason.
Just to show my presence and support so the family knows that they're not alone and there are people that do care.
And for many, without even having met the Guthries, they still feel connected.
It doesn't cost to care for people, and I care for the Guthries. They're from here. Savannah grew up here. They're ours.
And now, as the days have turned into weeks since the search began, keeping hope alive is more important than ever.
Hopefully, by doing this, it's still showing people out there that we care. It's showing people out there that just because the sheriff's not at the house anymore, just because there's not a whole group of people at the house, or you don't see stuff all over town anymore, we're not forgetting Nancy.
And tonight, the Guthrie family has a message for you, Tucson.
We are deeply grateful for the outpouring from neighbors, friends, and the people of Tucson. We are all family now. We continue to believe it is Tucsonans and the greater Southern Arizona community that hold the key to finding resolution in this case. Someone knows something. It's possible a member of this community has information that they do not even realize is significant. We hope people search their memories, especially around the key timelines of January 31st and the early morning hours of February 1st, as well as the late evening of January 11th. We desperately ask this community for renewed attention to our mom's case. Please consult camera footage, journal notes, text messages, observations, or conversations that in retrospect may hold significance. No detail is too small. It may be the key. We miss our mom with every breath, and we cannot be in peace until she is home. We cannot grieve. We can only ache and wonder. Our focus is solely on finding her and bringing her home. We want to celebrate her beautiful and courageous life, but we cannot do that until she is brought to a final place of rest. Thank you for continuing to pray without ceasing. The Guthrie family. Cameron and Christine, Annie and Tommaso, Savannah and Michael.
An emotional plea exclusive for News 4 Tucson. A family grateful for your love and support while desperate to find their mom. A reminder that you can find those links to calling your tips at the numbers at the bottom of your screen.
Like you, we were all hoping, we're holding on hope as a community. We can all work together to help bring Nancy home. From all of us at News 4 Tucson, good night.
So I want to just say, I didn't know what this News 4 Tucson special was going to be about. And basically, it really just went over the case from the beginning to the end, which I thought was good. You know, they covered some of the mishaps in this case, but they touched lightly on everything. And this is what the news does. They touch lightly on everything because don't forget, News 4 Tucson has to deal with Pima County Sheriff on a regular basis, and they step lightly around him. And, you know, the pressing questions would have been appropriate of, where are we at in this case? Are you any closer to solving it? Why have you not been giving any updates via your public information officer? There is a public information officer in the Pima County Sheriff's Department. He doesn't utilize that public information officer, and he should. The news should be getting regular updates from the Pima County Sheriff's Department. There's a task force now of 5 detectives and 1 sergeant. And tomorrow night, 8 p.m., Sunday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern, Sergeant Aaron Cross an active sergeant from the Pima County Sheriff's Department is going to join us live. We're going to talk about the efforts to recall Sheriff Nanos and what the process is and what it looks like. I'm also going to ask him some questions pertaining to the case, along with Ed Wallace. And I invited retired Lieutenant Commander Joe Cardinale to join us tomorrow night. So I hope that you guys will, check in with us, watch the replay if you can't watch it live. But it should be an interesting show because we're going to really go into a lot of information as it pertains to this case. Now, I see that everybody has a lot of feelings in the chat about different things, and we all need to just understand this. We have to respect everybody's thoughts and opinions, and everybody's got an opinion as it pertains to what happened to Nancy Guthrie. Everybody has an opinion of who possibly did this to her and what was their end goal. What was the end goal? And always, 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 it circulates around money. There has to be a financial gain to do a crime like this. And more times than not, these crimes have a financial component and involve vehicles, especially with 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, who has limited mobility. She can't walk very well on her own. There was definitely a vehicle involved, and there was one or more people. I would have to say, if I had a bet, I would bet that there is multiple. There is more than one person involved in her abduction / disappearance. And will they get to the bottom of this? Is this case going cold? It is going cold, in my opinion. It isn't cold right now because as long as leads come in and detectives have things to investigate and run down, don't forget, we never heard anything about the gun store and the owners, and they were asked to look at photos and sales records. We never definitively found out what the final result was of that canvas. And the Walmarts and the various different other outlets for the holster purchases and the backpack, we never got any confirmation of what the end result was in that part of the investigation. Sheriff Nanos said he cleared all of the Guthrie family. He is the lead investigating authority. Not him. He's not, thank God, he is not doing any investigating, thank God. But he is the primary investigating law enforcement agency, not the FBI. It's at the FBI task force. The task force is made up of Pima County sheriffs and FBI agents. A lot of things are going on behind the scenes that we aren't privy to, and that's a good thing. Sometimes when cases are quiet is when things happen. I don't know if that's necessarily the case here in this investigation, but I hope and pray it is. So I want to say thank you to everybody who joined us for this unscheduled live stream. I want to send prayers, strength, and positive vibes to the Guthrie family, to everybody on the ground who lives in the Catalina foothills. They're all scared. There's a lot of scared people. Sending strength to the investigators, to the FBI, the Pima County detectives, and all the good ones who are doing hard work to try to come to a resolution here and find out what happened and bring Nancy home to her family. Thank you all to the moderators, the replay viewers, the super chatters who have that confidence in this channel, Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. We are a learning channel. We provide you with our expertise as retired law enforcement professionals. You can get your true crime fix anywhere on YouTube, on the internet for that matter. So we honor and we thank you for spending your time with us. And we hope you have a good weekend. See you tomorrow night, Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Sergeant Cross from the Pima County Sheriffs will join us for an hour of an enlightening conversation. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you all soon. Thank you.